sized steel balls, forming a complex array of orbitals around.
Okay, so in about every ancient civilization in the entire planet, they used the same symbol for three things. It didn't matter if you were in Egypt, Maya, America, it didn't matter. This symbol right here with a dot with a circle around it was drawn out as the sun, gold, and God. Okay, and we're going to talk about the solar systems and why this is important. It's the cycle of everything that our solar system goes through. If you look at these, the gold, sun, and God, and why it's important, it's going to tie into, the Nibiru, the planet X, the whole cycle here. And it's really going to tie into as well the the electric universe. And when we think of any of the messiahs, any of them, they are all the light. Okay, and when you think of light or electricity or something like that, I always think of electricity. Let's put it down here. Well, in the electromagnetic spectrum, there's always the electricity, which is, sorry I don't have two pens, but so we'll have electricity goes like this, and this is its wave. And so we're just looking at the waveform there, and then magnetism would go, it counters it. And it actually, let me grab a, shoot, I thought I had a little drawing here, but I don't. And that's the electromagnetic spectrum. And let me erase that because that's terrible. Okay, and so there's magnetism counteract. It coincides with the electricity. You can't have one without the other. As soon as you have an electrical charge move, you're going to have a magnetic field follow with it. They're like a yin and yang. So I'm going to draw that right here. Magnetism. And that's going to be, we got your Jesus, or on this side you have your Lucifer. Oh no. Lucifer, not Jucifer. Okay, and that's going to be kind of like time. That's going to go with your atomic clocks, your spin, your magnetism. Now, everything in the universe goes together with charges, and it's going to be a matter of the difference, the contrast in the charge. Like, is going to be how strong it's going to attract. You can have the world's strongest magnet over here, and if it had no south pole, you only had the positive charge. We'll just call it a +10. It's not going to attract to itself because there's no contrast. But if you have the -10 with it, then all of a sudden you have this big spread, and it's going to be your contrast. Now, what I want to show you here, I'm just going to use this. Let me leave gold, God, and the sun, and let's look at the spin of the planets and why this makes sense and what is going to happen, and has happened, and what's in our cycle here. So here's the gold, God, and the sun. I'm going to tell you why this is important, because we think that Mercury is this dead planet and don't know what's going on with it, and no age, and the whole solar system was made at the same time. Well, that's wrong. Just like ancient history or mythology, we had, let's say with the Egyptians, we had the sun gods, and we started out with Osiris. And then he got taken out by, you know, his brother Set. And then you had, you know, Horus avenged his death. And, you know, and then it goes down this cycle. You got Aten and Ra and all these people. And they're all the sun gods, but they're all a little bit different. And, you know, where Set seems to be a little bit evil at the time. And, you know, Osiris is all great and mighty. Well, just like religion, it's all the same story. It doesn't matter if you go to, you know, anywhere around the world, you're going to have the same story. They just have, it's all Pictating astronomy, and it's all actual events. You wouldn't have 25 different cultures all calling Mars the god of war for no reason. You know, there's a reason that they get Pictated in this way, and it's because there's truth inside of the mythology. So here is, we're going to draw this. So here's the sun. And the reason I'm going to leave it at gold god and the sun all the same is going to be because they are all the same. And this is how we get all of our energy, our heat. This is how, you know, this is how any motor that's here on Earth works. And I'll get to that in one sec. So here's Mercury. We're going to put Mercury right here. And there's a, you know, as above is below is, I mean, you got this model and it works with atoms. It works on a smaller molecular level. This is when you have these little orbits. Here's Mercury. I mean, there's a direction and a style that it's going to go. It's going to spin that way. And then we're going to have Venus out here, which is going to go this way. But Venus actually spins backwards. And then we go out to Earth. And then we go to Mars. And that's as far as we're going to go. We're going to stop at the asteroid belt. We'll talk about it briefly. But, okay. Let's make sure you can see all that. Okay, good. So, now, like any motor, okay, on Earth, you need something to, you need a conductor and then you need magnetism. And what's going to happen is, you know, with our motors, we have these little wheels or however you want to do it, little copper coils. And let's say they're like this and this, and they're going to spin past these magnets. And when they spin past these magnets, they create electricity. And what they do is these magnets here will go past the copper, and what it'll actually do is the magnet will push the electrons down the copper wire. So here is, I just want you to be able to see this. Let me move this.
Okay. And blue balls are identical in construction and magnetic strength. The only difference is the magnetic polarity of the balls. The red balls are north magnetic polarity, and the blue balls are south magnetic polarity. Notice the various ways in which these balls will bond with each other. Here we see how the large and small balls interact with each other magnetically. Notice how the small blue ball is forced to flip over and then floats within the large red ball. The small red ball responds quite differently, as you can clearly see. Then we find the same rules in effect within the large blue ball. Now you see how the orbital distance of the small ball set is determined by the spacing between the large red and blue balls. This same principle applies to magnetic balls placed within the orbital equator area perpendicular to the large balls. In this demonstration, a singular magnetic ball is held in place by the magnetic poles, and then a second magnetic ball is added. Then it was discovered that this orbital effect is there even when the polarity of the magnetic field emitters is reversed.
Okay, sorry about that, lost you. Now when this magnet pushes down the wire here, I'm going to draw a little spool of wire. Okay, so here it is here. And so when this goes past a magnet, what it does is it pushes the charge down the wire from one side to the next. So it's going to actually push the charge through it out the wire over here. And that's because there's a field right here, and it goes around and it intercepts it, and so that field goes right inside the copper or anything like that. Copper, aluminum, we have in gold. You know, it's one of the best conductors there is, and it does not corrode. Now, one thing about gold, them calling it gold, the sun and God, the same symbol. The sun being the color, heat, density it is right here. And then Mercury being the first planet is when gold decays, when it burns out, when it goes through its stage, it will instantly burn out, become a smaller element, the next one down, and it actually becomes Mercury. I don't think they named it just for just because, do you? And now there is this cycle, it does go through it, and then Mercury would go and fall into later into Venus. And now, you know, Venus is supposedly a lot of iron, and you know, that's a ferromagnetic element, and you're going to notice that it starts out right here with gold in the middle, and it's going to be very dense. It's one of the heavier elements. It's, you know, and then as we go down this list, it starts to decay. But as it starts to decay and lower down, becoming closer to iron like we are over here, and Mars definitely is, it goes down the periodic table, but its magnetic properties or ferromagnetic properties actually increase, and it becomes more masculine in that aspect there. So it has a bigger draw towards a magnet. Now, here is the deal. So as we would go down, we bump into these during decays. You know, there's half-lives, there's using energy. When you're using your energy, you're going to go through one of two things. You're going to either, you know, do a rusting kind of decay, or you're going to do a shrinking decay. You have to do one of the two. When you're using energy, you have to take it from somewhere. You can't just, you know, just pull it out of nowhere. Okay, now I'm going to erase this. We got that. So we understand that once we age to a point. So the newest planets are next to the sun, the closest ones. And then as we go out and out, we, you know, we're third oldest or youngest, and we go out now. Now, if you remember, like Zeus and, you know, Kronos and in Greek mythology, you know, Zeus's dad was eating all the babies, and in any of the mythologies, actually, you know, there's this epic battle. You know, it's normally like father and son, or, you know, God and something else, and then, you know, you'll have like Hercules, or, you know, one of them, and they'll die, or, you know, when they go into the underworld, their wife or their partner actually goes down and helps them find their body, and then they roam the underworld for, you know, typically 10 years or so many years. And so we're going to redraw this in a little bit different angle. And so here's the sun right here, and I'm drawing it like this so that we can have a kind of 3D kind of spectrum here. So here's Mercury, and then we got Venus, and then, you know, Earth, I think this one's a little better. And then we'll go to Mars. Now, they all called Mars the god of war. Why? Well, here's the thing. Is that as we age and we go down the line, we become more magnetic, we get closer to the asteroid belt. And that's right here. And I know that this happened because it's simple physics with the magnetic fields. As your magnetic field grows, if it was bigger, it gets pushed out. So if Mars had to be bigger than Earth. Venus has to be smaller than Earth. And actually, if you break it down, there should actually be a planet in our asteroid belt, and that's another sign where I know that this is a true fact here. So, so what happens is there is a binary system. There has to be. You have to rub gold on a magnet for it to work. And I know that, there's not a lot of proof out there and it's kind of hidden, but you know what? How about this? They put an entire space organization, NASA did, Pioneer 10 and 11, built for finding Planet X. It's been all over the newspapers if you search history, where it was actually NASA posting it, and it was our government searching for it. And we found it in 1982. If you want to look it up, look up this date right here, December 30th, 1982. And it was out, and about 2 weeks later, they totally wiped it out. They denied everything, and I'm going to tell you that when you do the math on it, you find out that it's going to be that close to Earth, and you realize that we do not need 35 years of fear. And so they were quiet if it's nothing that they can do or stop or know for sure. Now here is the thing. If you look at all of the like through history, through religion, any of that, the snake, it is always magnetism. Boom, the snake. The moon is always magnetism. Water is always magnetic. Think about this. The moon pulls our tides. It affects, the magnetic flux on there. Now here's something that a lot of people still believe, that a tectonic plate moving 2 millimeters a year for 300 years causes a 700-foot tidal wave and giant earthquake, 5,000 miles away. There's no way. Okay, I mean, just do the math. That's a 60 centimeter, that's a 27-inch, shift. That's not going to cause an earthquake that far away. This is the most powerful force in the universe. I mean, this is electromagnetism. This is this duality at its highest. And so this magnetic, conductor electrical kind of duality here, when the sun has a solar flare or it fluxes or it has disturbance, what is happening is there's an imbalance in the structure. You wouldn't have any energy if there wasn't a contrast. If it was all just amped up to the fullest, we would just be one block of amped static. But because there's these differences, there's this duality, this pull and give, it really pushes and pulls, and so it causes the difference in this energy that we just happen to be able to use. So now, when the sun has a solar flare or a flux or some sort of, a charge that gets directed towards Earth, it will get directed towards Earth. And let's say right here, how this is drawn, we have Mars behind us. And now we swing in front of Mars, and typically we weren't far enough to really cause a big arc when we're on this line. But we get behind Mars, and now Mars leapfrogs off of us and compounds with us. Now the sun might shoot extra energy through us. When that happens, we will catch the solar flare will come in. Our Earth will burp a magnetic flux out, and it's the magnetic flux that comes through the ground that is attracted to every atomic bond that's between here and the core of our Earth, that causes the earthquake. Yes, in the Pacific Rim, or yes, in between the tectonic plates is the weak link where you're going to have most of the issues. Yes. It doesn't mean that's where it's generated. Just because it comes there, it doesn't mean that it's made there. And you know, our moon is magnetic, and it's part of it. We need the moon as well, because it's like a Earth, Moon, Sun kind of like a team there. We need both of them because the Earth is not magnetic; it is ferromagnetic, and what that means is that it doesn't have a magnetic field by itself, but when it goes through the moon will use the Earth to kind of hop off of as well. It allows the moon's charge to use the Earth's mass as like a booster. Okay, now here's something that's going on, and this is why Mars is the way it is, the way it's the god of war, why there's the time before the moon. Okay, now these rings, these planetary rings are pretty set in stone. I don't know if you've ever seen, you know, Spirit Science or anything like that, and they drew these little boxes, the circle and a circle and a circle. You know, when we start to get off phase with these, as far as the area, the numbers, as our molecules and like the total mass of a planet starts to get off phase, it will start to try to hop back. And they're stuck kind of in these rings until they get to that breaking point, but when they do, they'll hop back. Now, Mars is the god of war because of this. Okay, our binary system is a neutron star, okay? And it, you know, you could be like, I don't know that for sure, blah, blah, blah. Well, check out like my star videos, or ask me. I do have the reports, the science on that, and here's gonna be your Nibiru in a nutshell. Okay, now Lucifer, the biggest magnet, strongest magnetic element in the world, dual together, element 66 and 67. That's dysporium and holmium. Okay. Right here, these are six-sided, six-wayed crystals. They have 6 natural ions. It is a holmium, very, very, very different. Was found. All of the magnetic elements they were all found by the same few scientists. They all happen to be named after the apostles in each of the religions. You needed all of them. You couldn't do what they did without. You needed to use all the religions to figure this out. Okay, so that being said, the Book of the Devil was made by a monk, okay, in a town called Stockholm. Now, Stockholm was the town. All of these scientists that found elements, I want to say it's 53 to 57 to 671, something like that. There's whatever it is. There's 14 of them. Now, those elements were all founded by the apostles in each of the religions. Now, almost all of them, they were either born, died, lived in this town of Stockholm. Excuse me. Now, the monk that wrote the Book of the Devil was from Stockholm. He was told he had to write it, finish up, like he was like halfway done with his book. He had one night to do it. It was impossible. If you look at the artwork, the amount of detail, there's no way. So in Stockholm, this monk was there. The next morning, he comes out with a book that weighed 165 pounds, that had density. That was, it was big. It was done, and it was perfect, and it was complete. Okay. Now here's the issue. This element right here, holmium. It used to be named element X. Its atomic mass is 164.93. It was later renamed holmium from, from its Greek name, which means Stockholm. There's that Stockholm again. And now, when you follow the, like what they use these elements for right here, what they actually did, and they, even today, they will take neutrons out of elements using these elements right here. The scientist that found them, like Paul Emery, he has a male and a female name. He has that duality thing that look on my Antichrist page. There's Paul and the scientist, and I changed some of the pictures, and I have, as clear as day, there is a duck coming out of his neck that you can't see without taking the colors away. And that duck means a new beginning in the Hindu, in China and over there. And there's two different, under different circumstances, it kind of goes through a change. And what was really ironic is that online there was that picture, okay? And when I took the tents away before a major alignment in December, there was flames coming out, all this, there was a kid's head getting bit, and then when I waited till after that point, all of a sudden it turned into a rattlesnake, and it was like a baby duck. And and it's really weird, and it goes by frequency. If you haven't seen my frequency show, watch it. I'm going to set up something. It's not set up yet, but with the tones so that you guys can actually look at it. And night and day matter. As little as you're going to think that matters, whether the sun is on this side or the other side of the planet matters in how you perceive things and what colors get shown as what. Okay, so I don't want to get too sidetracked here because we're going to talk about Nibiru and what happens. So here is what's going on. Now, if y'all think that the sun is 5 billion years old, sorry, it's not. It's just not. Here's the thing. Do helium, hydrogen, any of that, and I know it's plasma, but this takes, what, they say 100,000 years to even get the nuclear fusion from the center of the core of the sun out. Well, it decays every 12 years. So unless it has 430 million half-lives, it did not happen that way. Here's the thing. And so when it would decay, it would turn into Mercury, then the Venus, and then Earth, and then there was the time before the moon. It's been talked in history for a long time. So there's this time before the moon, and then all the civilizations call Mars the god of war. Well, here's what happens. We decay into that iron. We become extremely ferromagnetic. So we have a big draw to us, and our binary system is the devil, which is a giant neutron star. And the reason we do not see this coming is because it is not 5 times bigger than Earth, and it is not this giant ball of something. It is a small magnet. Here's your David and Goliath battle. Here is your, let me do this right now. We'll just jump the gun. I'm going to put that star right there. There's your Star of David. Okay? And this symbol right here is how Earth got fed. This is the reason Noah has its floods. Okay? And what it is saying is, let's say Mars. So Mars is the god of war because this is extremely magnetic. And if you let's look at Earth here for a second so I can relate it to Mars. Now, we have Antarctica. We have maps of the Piri Reis that show Antarctica hundreds, if not many thousands of miles out of alignment inside our lifetime, drawn without ice on it. Antarctica has not been covered in ice for a long period of time. We go through a steady cycle. Check out the Landscape event. It'll show how frequent they are. They are very frequent. If we're using ice to detect our, tell how old these cycles are, and Antarctica was drawn not covered in ice only, in 1513, probably saying that our 780,000 year cycle is probably a lot shorter. And I'm going to say it's a way shorter. And it's, you know, we do have these ice ages and these pole flips, and they're steady on cycle, and we're due to have one we will have an ice age, and it will be soon. You know, it doesn't mean we are, you know, going to just get wiped off the planet in an apocalypse, but it means, you know, maybe you should pay a little bit of attention if there's going to be a major event like this. And, you know, it goes down to a methane hydrate, and it vaporizes and when it expands a lot when it vaporizes, and it's going to vaporize, you know, turn into this, you go from solid to a gas instantly, but under a certain amount of pressure, it can retain its form as a solid, but we're about to lose that. That's the problem with global warming. It is going to trigger it. It's going to expand 170 times, and when it does, it is going to drop temperature to negative 161 degrees Celsius. There's your woolly mammoths that are frozen. Boom. There's an ice cube, woolly mammoth, and trunk. There you go. And there he is, food in his mouth. That's what happened. That's how it did it. Methane hydrate. Okay. Now, we are getting into this point where our frequencies out. We're decomposing again. We're going into the spot where Mars is. Mars is a dead planet. NASA's saying we're going to Mars to live. I don't know what to say. They're either hosing us or they're morons. One of the two. Or, you know, they didn't want us to live in fear. There is that too. But you know what? Don't tell us we're going to go live on Mars because you're clapping your hand over here to smack us in the face with this hand. Reasons we can't go. There's no magnetic field. No magnetic field means no Arcadian beat. That means no immune system. That means also with the magnetic field, no atmosphere, no radiation barrier. No immune systems means we die. So we're not going there. Okay? Great plan. Didn't work out. I don't see you spending billions of dollars and tons of years being the smartest astronomical, you know, department in the world and not get that, but I get it here. Don't get it. Thanks, buddy. Anyway, so we get to this certain point, and the same reason this scar is across Mars, and the same reason it's the god of war anywhere, it became ferromagnetic. So now, the neutron star, the Star of David, comes on up. It's doing its little cycle. You know, here, it can be like this, and here's its cycle, okay? We'll call it 3,600 years because sounds good. Okay, so we're coming through. It becomes extremely, first of all, this is the biggest magnet in the world. It's Hercules. It's all those, it's the opposite, it's Set. It's all those Set, you know, we'll call it David. It's the little one. The reason it seems so big and so powerful is because its magnetic field is ginormous. They spin incredibly fast. The paperwork I seen on this one said 740 times a second or something ridiculous. Now, without it rubbing on gold, right here, the sun, it does not create energy. It does not create anything. What it's doing is it's a magnet spinning. Go spin one, you know, off your fridge. It will not create energy. But as soon as it gets inside the field range, right in here, and it starts rubbing against, you know, these other planets or the sun, is going to cause an imbalance. It's going to be the revelations. Why it's these giant. If you look at the revelations, they blew a horn and such happened. Every single one of those things is an electromagnetic issue. It's, you know, it's volcanoes, it's earthquakes, it's all of that stuff. It's pole flips, it's flooding. That's because you mess with the tides. Now, what happens is this came in. It was attracted to Mars, and let me tell you something that I don't know if they're trying to fool the people that are working on this as well, and I hope they're not fooled. But so this star system is dragging around a bunch of water in a big cloud, and that big cloud makes it look big like Jupiter, and we call that Nibiru, or Nibiru. And so when this got too close to Mars last time, it drew. You know, we see these pyramids on there, and we see the face, and we see whatever. Yeah, that's because we came from there. I'm sure. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I'm gonna guess to the fullest, because look, we're getting older. We get bumped out. Mars obviously looks like it was inhabited before. There was a Lucifer project that you hear about in mythology or some other places that involved Mars, and then you have all our pyramids and all our ancient sites across the planet. The oldest ones are the biggest, the best, the most well constructed. They are perfect. And then the closer we get now, we get a little. They get, you know, that they're weaker. They're not as nicely made. Blah blah blah. So Nibiru got too close to Mars, pulled this magnetic connection. Okay, and when it did, it was like a giant magnet pulling in, and then pow, it pops, right? And when it popped, it blew out its magnetic field, and it took all the stuff that was supposed to go, like, you know, maybe the core or something like that, and it made an explosion. And now both of these, Mars and Nibiru, got hurt. Okay, we're gonna call it hurt. They ran into each other, they exploded, and then what happened is the neutron star started to gather up into its properties. Mars gathered into its smaller properties. Now, I know that Mars was bigger, and something had to happen. Not only is this have the water all over Nibiru, and not only is it a big orange iron cloud, okay, and not only is there a time before the moon, and here's this, and they both make H3, and they're both the same color and property and moons and pull all, I mean, Jesus. Now, and they both take the snake and this, and you know, it's too many things. You know, mythology and religion were I mean, it's all one story, different perspectives, and you need to have it all. That, you know, that made us not be able to have one person walk all over everybody. Okay, now here's the thing. Once that happened, it took it. Now, the planets, as we go out in the solar system, it's going to matter how big our magnetic field is. Okay, is how far we go out away from the sun. Because look, here's this. So Mercury would be the closest. And then we would have, you know, Venus. And there it is there. And then we would have Earth. And it would go so out and so out. Now, I know Jupiter is supposedly bigger, okay, than Saturn. Well, Saturn's got these extra big rings that, you know, that make its field go bigger. It goes by, you know, its density. And Mars, it is not smaller than Earth. It does not have no magnetic field. It doesn't have all these things. It got run over. There's a reason it's in mythology all across it. It got trucked over by Nibiru. And then this is what happens next. So after we go on this cycle, and it's all a cycle, it all continues, and it's not the first time this is going on. Sun is not all that old. Okay, here we go. We still have the asteroid belt, and this is what happens. So once you blow up a Mars and you just get trucked by this giant magnet that has, you know, it has a greater mass than the sun and is only 10 miles wide or something like that, you know, once it just whoops you. I mean, and I don't know how you're going to rate the mass, okay? You're talking about it's floating in a sea, okay? A sea that we've obviously never been in, or, you know, somewhere in those 15 years that we had these land rovers on Mars, they would have somewhere in there realized that, hey, this magnetic field's all messed up and this isn't going to work. But you know what? You know, we save the fear. So anyway, so Mars blows up and it blows into a billion pieces, and this is what happens. And now all of a sudden it makes the asteroid belt. And then when you crush up rocks, guess what happens? You make gas. And guess what? That's where you feeds it in, and it feeds it into Jupiter. And if you take, you know, there's several different ways you can see how, you know, the fractals in Fibonacci, and you can follow Fibonacci, and you take the moons and subtract them out backwards. And I did it one time all the way to Jupiter, and I took a guess on their moons because I didn't want to do 67 of them. Now, here's the thing, is you have to add one in at the asteroid belt, and I want to show you guys something. So, first of all, here is a ring, and this is going to be like the rings of Saturn. It's going to be like, I'm sorry, Jupiter's rings, the asteroid belt, like any of those. Now, so if you look, this ring splits. If you look at this, we have a pull here. Whoop, that's slippery. Okay, you got a pull here, and if you look, it's pulling as we go around. Sorry, it's a little low. It's pulling towards this. This thing right here splits a ring, splits a magnetic field into 4. So when you get to this ring, and all of a sudden you have all the interior planets, 1, 2, 3, 4, real close together. We have the belt, and then all of a sudden Jupiter's way out here, and there's this big difference. This is why, because we actually have 4 magnetic fields right there. We jump 4 to get it out there, and then we wind it back the other way. So when all this happens, asteroid belt, we got the gas planets, and then Saturn is our garbage disposal. Everything decays from gold all the way over here. The mercury goes down, it goes all the way over here, which is supposed to be lead. And then, the real heavy ones make it into the outside. The Neptune, the Uranus, the Pluto. Pluto being the size of it is, I could pretty much guarantee you that it's not very light like we're thinking, and honestly, it may be a good portion of our it may be a Nibiru. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know this, that when I'm looking at the sun, I'll put on a welder's mask over my telescope, looking at stuff. Now, any of these planets or anything you're looking at from Earth, this Earth is 24,000 miles around. We're going, like, at the equator 1,000 miles an hour, okay? Which, it doesn't seem like that much, but it's a decent amount. And then you're talking about something like looking at Saturn through a telescope at 800 million miles over there. 800 million. Do you know how far we go in 1 second? You miss the whole planet. And that's ridiculous, okay? To think that we're gonna see all this stuff, not to mention that the harmonics of the planet just vibrating just a fuzz. If you vibrate 1 nanometer, you're talking, this is a mile, this is a million miles. And you're talking a ways. This is 800,000 times further away. So when we travel, just a fuzz over here, you're talking, it's a long, long ways. In 1 second, I guess you probably pretty much, I'm not going to work that all out, but you guys can do it from home. But we're going to pass almost the whole planet, if not the whole planet, in several seconds. So when you see a zoomed in photo and it doesn't make, and it looks perfect and it's all this, think about this. You have gravity that's strong enough that could probably bend light. That's somewhere in there on the way, especially in Saturn. Those rings are all magnetic, and they all funnel magnetism significantly. Sometimes looking at the moon, you can see some of you'll have a hard time focusing because, I don't want to say magnetic, it's a strong, it's got a lot of charge that day. And so here's the thing. Let's go. That's a long ways. Just think. That's all I want you to do is think. And here's something to show you that it is coming. These are both compasses, and I have 8 more of them just like these, and some of them read one way and some read the other. And it's they want to read together today. Like 9 times out of 10, this one's actually the first time I must have a magnet somewhere. Anyway, this field, take a look at some of the other ones, but they're running opposite of each other. And some of my compasses will read 180 degrees one way, some will read the other way. And last night they were actually reading the other way. And I do not understand. They've been this way since the 23rd of December. And that is when we had planets, these two planetary bodies came in. November, let me get this off here. Let's see if we can get one of these to not to clear. I don't know. A little bit bigger one. Being on the inside, you're a little bit like a shield, and you get more of the totals. Anyway, that's tipped back pretty good. That's wild. Anyway, so here's the thing. December 23rd, first day I saw the pole point the other way. We had the South Pole became north for a little while. Some places it might not have shown up. It's going to depend on your geographic structure of, you know, your whatever your rocks and stuff are made out of, is going to hold a charge a little bit better. Do have a movie on that. Take a look if you want. Now, November 7th or 6th, somewhere in there, there was the first planetary body came into our solar system. It was written in hieroglyphics. It's been written in crop circles. And guys, crop circles, you need to have plasma energy to make them. They are not somebody stomping on it with boards and drinking beer. You either have to go from 0 to 47,000 degrees before you cook the plant, or you have to vibrate at like 250,000 hertz. Neither one are we able to do. Easy to tell. Okay, December, 30 days later, December 6th, and you know, just like I was, I've said before, is that all the holidays are meant for a reason. Here you go. Hanukkah. It has a giant alignment, and what happened there? The second planetary body came into our solar system. I mean, think about the holiday. Don't let the light out. And so here's what happened. So when the second one came in, and we had this alignment where we had Saturn, Sagittarius, you know, this middle of the Milky Way, we had Scorpius. Okay, there's my scorpion, pretty nasty. Okay, so Sagittarius, Scorpius, Pluto was over here, Saturn, here's the Sun, Mercury, and then it went, our Moon, us, I can't remember if it was Neptune or Uranus, but one of them was over here. One of them was over here. The other one was over here, followed by Venus, Jupiter, Mars, all in a row. Put us on an X. A giant X that made us the biggest electromagnet in the solar system. When that happened, we sent all this current from Sagittarius, hopped all the way through here, hit our moon, went over there, snagged Nibiru. I've talked about this before, and it jerked it back this way. That's where we had the flood. That's where we had the 100 floods. All this other stuff happened. Now, I want to show you where the Star of David, that kind of stuff, came from, what's important about it. Now, Noah's flood. Here we go. So once Mars got picked up, when it got run over, you know, that's when our moon started to develop. That's when we could actually start to develop life and a tide and these things. Here it is right here. Star of David. David and Goliath. This is because this is 8 miles, 10 miles, something like that. Our sun, 800,000. Or miles across. That's not kilometers, it's thousands. So shoot, 1,000 miles. Okay, just know that. Okay, so, and that's why Mars shrank, because its magnetic field, if you remember, would have put it on the inside of Earth if it was that size, but it's not. So it got pushed on the outside, which has no magnetic field, no ocean, giant scar, because this little guy ran it over. Here it is. Look at the star. It's up and it's down. This thing seeds, it fertilizes, it takes all of the life forms from Mars and it dumped it right on top of Earth. And our 40 days and 40 nights of solid rain until the whole world flooded was because we took Mars's ocean and dumped it all over the Earth. Okay? This is not something that, you know, I would take lightly as far as let's pack and it be cold, and these things happen, and it's not our first ice age, and we are on a cycle, and we are going through these things. And you know what? In our poles, they did flip and they did change, and we did have these floods. And if you look at the holidays, the 12 days of Christmas, 12 drummers drummed right through 8,000 earthquakes. You know what I'm saying? The pipers piped when we had tornadoes where we've never had them. The turtle doves and all that, we had 100 million homes flood in all continents on the planet. This isn't like it's not going to touch me. I promise you it's going to touch every single person in this planet. And I promise you that it is not going to be some mythological story. You have religious people all over the world that look at this and blink like they can't tell the difference in a hot pan. When you grab it, is it going to hurt? Yes, it is going to hurt. When you have an earthquake, when you have an ice age, when you have all these events happen, guess what? It's going to get cold. It's not going to get cold at your neighbor's house and not yours. Negative 161 degrees Celsius is almost a 300 degree Fahrenheit drop. That's cold. Okay? The ancients, they showed us the apple. They showed us the beetle. They showed us the Taurus. They showed us the ducks. They showed us it all. That's because they wanted us to know what this is. This is the magnetic field. The reason this is important is because if you take our sunlight away, and they will do a duality, it will burn its food real quick, and then on top of that, this is going to be a spin the other direction. Here's going to be giant evolution if this isn't the time that we become Mars and get trucked. I don't believe that's the case. I believe we have another cycle, but you know, if we are still going to spin the other direction. Ancient Egypt, all of them, they had, or the ancients, they had more elements in their periodic table because they had anti-elements for every element, because the main structure of the star is going to spin the other way. When that happens, it will decay all of the, you know, these elements will decay. Some of them could decay instantly. This is why you do not have carbon dating work, because it erases it. This is why we do not have steel structures from the past, but they were very, very intelligent, because they decay. The only things that are left is the solid structures, the organics, those things, the things that are hidden and protected. This is why, you know, dinosaurs, we can't tell if there's 65 million or 65,000, and then we have people and dinosaurs together in 100,000 different cycles or pieces of work and stuff like that. That when Nibiru comes and slows our planet down before it turns dark, before it goes through this complete stop, when the Earth stops spinning and it stops this connection between Earth, Sun, and Moon, it's going to stop before it goes back the other way. When it stops before it goes back the other way, you still have a million trillion tons of iron that's spinning one way. Our core is depleting right now. It's getting lower. We are over this limit where we will have this ice age. This will happen, and we are pulling into it. I know the world is not what it seems. Physics are not what they seem. And this spin going the other direction will take a big impact on our power and all this stuff. This is why they were all harmonically perfectly tuned in those underground caves, is because they wanted every single, they tried to live every single chance, because if this spin is going backwards, it'll be bad. If it goes through the perfect structures, it will reattune and it will go in a direction that will benefit people. It kind of sucks that we never heard about it. Some other things to say we never heard about. Reseed the World Foundation, put in 2010, I want to say. It's Denmark. We can feed the whole, or reseed the whole world off of that. We had our super collider, $255 billion budget, and we stopped $2 billion short. What? Why? So we could build a $253 billion hole for no reason? It makes a lot of sense. Unless we needed to get away from it. We need to get away from Ice Age, those things. Now, what else? We have, look at Japan. They built this water deal. That's it looks like you could fit Lord of the Rings, the Dwarven Castle inside of it, and it's meant for a water overflow and for Tokyo. I don't think so. This doesn't make sense. Ask what makes sense, because that's not it. And you know, again, if you get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. Those that don't get it don't know that they don't get it. But it's going to happen. Put together, hot pan, when you grab it, ow. Okay, so thank you very much. And yes, sir. I will talk to you later. Thanks.